Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I was just watching some folks online, uh, and they were making their content in regards to basketball. Kind of inspired me to turn on the camera and just talk my stuff a little bit as well, man. Shout out to everybody who checked out BDF 44's channel. Thank you for being here. So this was on my mind, man. First of all, I want to talk about the Washington Wizards because they're a team we just got through seeing. Laker fans, from our perspective, we just got through seeing them, and they are in a very unique perspective in regards to where they're at, a no man's land type of thing in regards to their timeline. Now, the key to the Washington Wizards is understanding the fact that they have Bradley Beal on contract right now, eating up a good portion of their cap. It's like a legacy act, somebody that they paid, sort of like we did with Kobe. He's been there their whole time, been through thick and thin. They love him there deeply, so they wanted to make sure they take care of him in an extraordinary way. And I was listening to Kenny for real talk about it, and he didn't understand it. He's like, why are they doing that? That doesn't make any sense for them. It's like, you know what I mean? You want to get out of that no man's land space. But I think when you're the Washington Wizards, the one thing that you understand that you have is picks on top of picks and picks on top of picks that can really change the trajectory of your situation at any moment. And the key for the Washington Wizards is to not be so focused on who they have on the floor currently, but more so the fullness of what they can do with their flexibility. And that's why I didn't mind them overpaying for Bradley Beal as a salute, because I look at their situation as something that can't get a lot better unless they do something they probably shouldn't do to fix his timeline, or they could just let him walk, as to which he's somebody that they really love. Like I said, when you care about somebody on a deep level like Portland and Dame and as I said, Steph, obviously, and Golden State players like that, you just kind of want to keep them around. It ain't got to be something that other people understand. It's just, this is our guy, and we're going to take care of him, and our timeline makes sense based on the fact that we don't think we can get a whole lot better too soon without doing things that really kind of mortgage the future. And you watch other teams like Brooklyn and the Lakers, and they're kind of regretting the fact that they mortgage their futures. So if you're the Washington Wizards, the thing that you have to understand about yourself, though, is that historically you don't really have a whole lot of good draft history. You haven't had the first overall pick very often. And when you with the picks that you do have, you just haven't drafted well. So the key, if I were given the keys to the Washington Wizards organization right now, if somebody were to give me the Washington Wizards, the thing that I would want to do is hire myself a very, very expert GM, if I don't already have somebody like that in place. Somebody who can really be like Danny Ainge, be like Presti, be like one of those type of guys that can just come in and steer the ship in regards to our build. It ain't a rebuild because you don't have nothing. You're starting your build and you have the equity to create it. So that's what I would want to do. Not really mortgage everything for like a player or nothing like that. But and really not necessarily try to blow this team up because it's average enough to get me to the playoffs. And until I learn how to draft properly, it doesn't really matter where I draft in theory. Now, it does if you can get like a Wembanyama or a Scoot Henderson. But from what I understand, they don't have their pick for whatever reason for this upcoming year, which is strange since they have so many. Don't quote me on that, though. But whatever the case may be, their strategy seems to be to kind of stand in a no man's land kind of place with their timeline. And because of Bradley Beal being in place, being that legacy act, they're one of the strange teams, in my opinion, that can actually get away with it. That's basically what I'm saying. They can do that, and their fan base won't hate them for it. For one, they're not accustomed to winning. With all due respect, of course, they don't have the type of expectations that like the Lakers have. We're sitting here saying, okay, we're used to a certain expectation, and you need to provide that expectation, and our love for the players that we have love for is attached to those expectations being constantly met. Well, if those expectations are much lower and they just love their players to begin with, they just want to see them there for the long haul, and that's what they have there in Bradley Beal. That's something they value. And plus, Bradley Beal's not done yet. So there's opportunities for him to win basketball games, get him to playoffs, stuff like that. With the Porzingis, and then with those two contracts kind of being the same length, you can have them both expire at the same time. work your infrastructure if you like it right now, or find that infrastructure. Get your farm system in place as well, which is very important for rebuilding systems and teams. And then from there, start drafting with the picks that you have and start the process of having that culture that's not present. Because that's what they're missing, is culture. And you can't develop that culture unless you make either a bold decision to mortgage all of your picks in future for some star that can provide you that culture. As to which I don't think that's a good idea, because you see how hard it is to build around them dudes. Or you can just do what you need to do to get good at the things you're not good at, which is drafting and developing talent. That's what the Washington needs to do. They don't need to be worrying about anything that's going on in the court right now. What they need to be doing is fixing their infrastructure. The owner, if I'm the owner, I'm like, okay, find me the best GM in the world. Find me the best GM possible. If there's a hotshot youngster who's in college somewhere who's specializing in GM and he's acing it or whatever, get him and bring him into our organization, and let's groom him to be our GM in the future. I'm not even really looking to make moves until 2024, to be honest with you. Right now, we're just chilling, because the most important thing is to make sure that the people we have making the trades and the things that we need to do are people we trust to hit home runs. And if you don't have that person in place, you don't really want to be making moves when you have so much. You think about the Lakers right now and how much we would love to have what the Wizards have based on their war chest. You cannot have it and not value it properly based on that being the case all around you. So that's what I see with the Washington Wizards. As a GM, I want to be there. If I'm a GM in a situation that doesn't have any flexibility, that is where I want to be. That's where I want to go. Because I know the flexibility that they have and the expectations that they have make it so that I can not only put together whatever I want to put together, but I can spend as long as I need to do it. Ain't nobody knocking on my door saying, you better hurry up and win here in DC. They're not. And what that tells me is I could build a dynasty there. I could build a dynasty there starting right now if I just make sure I take all that they have and then get the infrastructure I need to do the best with it. So that's it. That's literally what Washington needs to do. Ignore your past as it pertains to, oh my God, we've never won, we need to hurry up and do something. That's what Brooklyn did when they made the move to Brooklyn. They messed up that way. No. Don't worry about necessarily trying to hurry up and get things done for Bradley Beal. He's content. And most importantly, if he wants to win, he can leave. All right? Because you got your future in place and you don't need to deal with that. And another thing is, you're going to also be able to avoid some of the timelines of a lot of the teams that are starting their process right now. So if you're the Washington Wizards, you may be able to avoid the Orlando Magic. You may be able to avoid the Detroit Pistons and be the teams that's coming up after them, as to which, again, you don't have any expectations, so nobody's going to hate you for that timeline. And if that is your timeline, then Bradley Beal right now and Kristaps Porzingis right now are on par with that. You just want Bradley Beal to just salute, thank you, retire, or get to a point where you're not good enough to be an all-star no more, as to which this contract plays itself out, and we can start that process then. That's what it is. And so, savvy Washington Wizards fans are just enjoying the end of Bradley Beal's career. That's really what it is, man. Y'all in a weird space like the Lakers were in before we got rid of Jim Buss. Essentially, that's where they are. And they don't have the kids yet. They don't have really anything, and it's just the tail end of the John Wall era finally coming to an end, to be completely honest with you, because that's really what it's about. John Wall was the piece that was in place that they got the first overall pick with. He was supposed to stay and be the super duper whatever it was supposed to be, but the injuries hit and his contract became impossible. Bradley Beal was his number 2, if we all remember, and that's how that was supposed to go. It just didn't manifest, and they never ever found anybody to be Bradley Beal's number 1 ever again. That's what it's the God's honest truth. Bradley Beal is a natural number 2 whose number 1 departed and never returned. So they haven't replaced that number 1. You can't have Bradley Beal be number 1. He never was that. He's number 2. And so it's like he's aging as a 2 without a 1. So he deserves a bag. That's really what it comes down to. So it all makes sense, really. And in my mind, the Wizards have enough to where if Bradley Beal just sticks around, stays healthy, and goes for the long haul, he could stay with the Wizards his entire career. And whenever he decides to retire, they're going to be a good team. That's the point. He doesn't have to necessarily leave. He doesn't have to do anything. Just fade off into a role-playing role on his home team for which he's always played for which he was never a number 1 anyway, and watch them build on top of you. Watch them put players around you that you can help do what you need to do. And then what do you become? Basically, Kevin Lovish. See what Kevin Love is going through in Cleveland? That's what happened. He stuck around for the entire process of the rebuild. Took the money, sat there on the bad team, and watched the pieces come to him. Now he's on a contender again. That's exactly what Bradley Beal's plan should be. And you got all your money, and you're in a situation where you can ultimately see an opportunity to win when they bring that stuff to you. So, I mean, it's not the greatest plan in the world, but it's certainly a lot better than going to a cap strap situation and trying to be a big three there. Believe me, that ain't better than what he's going through right now. It ain't. Because there's going to be more pressure on him to stay healthy, and that is going to be more so a problem for him because that's one of his weaknesses, staying healthy. In this case, at least he stays with a team where he has a legacy act. They probably give him a statue. You know, he goes down as the greatest Wizards ever. That kind of thing. Him and Wes Unseld and a few other guys, of course. Rod Strickland. I can't think of everybody. Chris Webber. So they've had some great guys, but he's going to go down as one of the great ones. Gilbert Arenas, of course. So, you know what I mean? It's one of the things where, as I look at the Washington Wizards, I just say I would love to be a GM there. I really would. There's no expectations. They got a blank canvas, and they got all their equity. So that's not the worst place to be. It's just about getting through the hard times. And for me, with them, for the time being, get yourselves a point guard. Find yourself a Lonzo Ball, Josh Giddey, Ben Simmons pass first player. They need that. Monte Morris is a scorer, man. He's a mid-range specialist. I can put him at the 2 and have him shoot jumpers all day long. I said I'll get the best out of him. You don't want him looking to facilitate the ball for other people. Not like that. They need a floor general. They need a Tyrese Halliburton. They need somebody like that to add to this team, who John Wall obviously was. You know what I mean? To make it so that Bradley Beal can receive the passes that he was able to get. Russell Westbrook shined in that role for that reason alone, because Bradley Beal is a catch and shoot, specialist. He can roam all over the place and just catch the ball off of awesome assist men. That's what he can do. So that's what they need. Maybe trade Porzingis for that type of piece. And then he'll have more of a cohesive unit down there on the floor. You saw how Gafford was able to eat against the Lakers. Even with AD going crazy, he was still dunking everything. He only missed a shot. So it's like they're not devoid of talent. You know, I look at Corey Kispert. We said this last night. That boy ain't missed a shot in 3 days. It's just nobody's paying him any attention. Corey Kispert is hitting every shot he's taking. And so it's one of those situations where they just need to shift and realize some of the players, just like the Lakers went through early in the season, some of the players they were leaning on are players that are struggling. If you just look at the players who are actually playing well for you and empower them, you'll get the results you're looking for. So they just need to do some shuffling over there for their unit right now, because Washington's a lot better team than they looked against the Lakers. They are. They just didn't lean on the right people. So, yeah, man, I like their situation. Get themselves a point guard, and just accept the fact that the talent that they're missing is represented in their picks, and they got a lot of them. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. Their future is very bright. Players will come to them over time, and as they come to them, you'll see that culture develop based on who those players are. Scoot Henderson's Wizards, Wembanyama's Wizards, like that's what it's going to be. Those players that they're looking for to do that, they ain't there yet. So that's what it is, man. That's my assessment of the Wizards. I think I'll leave it at the Wizards. There were other teams I could have mentioned, of course, but just make this a Wizards video. Video 44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.